Right, I've got this Speed Twin from trying for a couple of weeks, and it seems like an awesome platform for customizing, much like my Street Twin. You know, it's a very kind of basic motorcycle shape, quite simple, so you can definitely trick it out a little bit. And also, I wouldn't say the components are like premium necessarily. There's no R model, so there's definitely some room for improvement. So I wanted to do a little video about what to mod, what to upgrade, but rather than me just speculating, I thought it'd be better to bring in someone a bit more qualified than me to talk about it. So this is Rowan from Hawkeye Moto.
How you doing?
This is your bike, but also you do plenty of custom builds yourself. You've had a couple of bikes at the bike shed show, so
pretty much a glorified shed builder.
Right, well that's perfect then. And you've had this how long?
Since March, since the release. Ordered it brand new, collected it I think end of March, beginning of April, with no intention of changing anything, and as you can see that's kind of changed.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What made you pick Speed Twin? Because like obviously a lot of the bikes that you're working on are proper retros, or well, older bikes, let's say.
Well, I wanted a bike I knew would start first time, every morning.
Yeah.
ABS was something that I'd never ridden before, so I really wanted something a little bit safer. I wanted to stick to that custom classic sort of retro vibe, but I wanted to have something with the performance of a modern bike, something I could rely on, something I could enjoy. So I went with the Speed Twin because of the Thruxton R engine. Being something I'd always admired. I really fancied as a day-to-day bike, but was such an uncomfortable position.
Yeah.
And I really liked the Street Twin shape and styling. Mm-hmm. As soon as I heard about the launch of this, it was a bit of a hybrid between the two, and kind of met in the middle ground that I was after, and that was why.
Anyway, you've done plenty of mods so far on it, so I thought we'd talk through what you've done, why you've done it. We'll start from the front and work to the back just so we don't miss anything. So what have you changed up front?
So first things first, straight out the factory I added the machined headlight bezel. I felt it matched the clocks a little bit more. I don't know if you can see, but the bezel on that looks a bit plasticky, and I fancied something with a bit more shine. Mm-hmm. Other than that, there was nothing at the front end stock that really bothered me, so I kept it all the same. I've found that there was quite a lot of wind on my chest and my stomach. I didn't really enjoy it, so then after about 3-4 months I found dark fly screens, did a really nice dark tinted sort of mid-size fly screen, which sticks with the look but also adds a bit more rider comfort. Is that
noticeable when you're riding, the kind of reduction in wind, or not?
Yeah, definitely. Especially if in summer you're wearing a lighter weight jacket. I found this one's quite heavy compared to some of the other things I ride, but you know, if you're wearing like a rider shirt or something like that, it makes quite a noticeable difference. It's made it a bit easier to ride on the M1 for me. So from mine to the Ace Calf is a direct route on the M1.
Right.
And I was getting bored of getting there with an achy stomach, so made a difference. Then moving backwards, the tank's quite obviously not a stock colour. I had this wrapped by a company called Liquid Wrap. It's a spray application protective coating that's completely customisable, and then had the side panels done to match. The colours on it are pretty much completely custom and made up by us. The grey was made to match the grey down here, and the green was a colour of a custom bike I did a little while ago, so that was the reason behind that. And then the black was just to follow the line of the seat.
Looks awesome, and I think hopefully I'll be able to get it with the camera with the footage of the bike itself, but when you see it in person it is a really nice finish. And I think, you know, maybe people will think a wrap can't quite compete with a proper paint job, but it does look awesome, doesn't it? And it's got a real gloss to it.
Yeah, I think, in my opinion, on this occasion the paint job would not have been half as cool. Right. And it's, you know, it's great having a background story of saying it is a wrap and people going, oh my god, never have guessed.
And of course you were saying earlier as well before we started filming that you could just peel it off as well if you wanted to eventually. Yeah,
so underneath the colour is, I've got the grey one, but it's very similar sort of style to this. Underneath is completely preserved, and when I take it off will be as new. Yeah. So I'm quite chuffed with that. It means that the resale sort of market hasn't been restricted to just custom, because I can go back to normal if necessary.
Were you a bit inspired by, because I don't know, I'm not mad about the graphics on this. This is like similar because you've got a stripe and a block along the bottom, but I think a little bit more simple, and I quite like that. Was it at all inspired, or was it mainly that idea of running in line with the tank that...
So this paint job is hand painted,
right.
So it's raised, and in order to cover that we'd have had to go with so many different layers to get rid of that raised line that we thought it would just be best to incorporate something similar and run the paint over the raised line. So the pinstripe that runs down the side here should be the exact same line as the white pinstripe on there. Made sense to pretty much use what was already there.
I get you. Yeah, that's awesome. So what else have we got?
In the same sort of area, from the factory, I got the black air intake covers rather than the brushed aluminium. Brushed aluminium looks the nuts, it's retro, it's cool, but right by the middle there I thought it was a bit too in your face, so added the black, and it's kind of made it a little bit more sleek in my eyes.
Yeah, it really actually changes the look of the bike quite a lot. And those are the factory parts, you said?
They are from the factory, so they're just a direct replacement. I ordered them with the bike, so it came with them on. Actually came with the original ones in a box, so I have got them if necessary. Then also in the same area, I've changed the air filter to a DNA performance filter, which has probably unleashed a bit more air. I felt it was a bit restricted at first, but not made too much of a difference, just enough to notice. And then I fitted a Tech Bike Parts decat, which completely changed the sound, the feel of the ride, and mixed with the air filter has made it a lot more throaty,
right?
And you know, more of a grunty muscle bike compared to what it was. And then from the factory, I've got the Vance and Hines pipes, which you know, change the look, but not only that, make it sound like a beastly bike, which was my intention.
For sure. And yeah, I think these cans that come stock, they're all right. They remind me of the Street Cup a little bit. They don't look quite as finished, as premium as those do. I think it definitely elevates it a bit. And as you say, the sound. Are these the US spec? Do they do that for these? On my Street Twin, I've got the US spec where you can take the baffles out.
Oh, I don't know. I've not tried yet, just in case I annoy the neighbours.
Right. Well, it's probably pretty loud already. We'll have a listen in a minute. We'll do a sound check. It looks like you've polished it as well. The headers look quite different to this. This is more of a brush finish, whereas that's got like a nice sheen across the whole thing.
So I've been riding it in the bad weather a lot recently, and I fitted these new Olin shocks, which came straight off the Thruxton R.
Right.
And when I fitted them, I realised they were really shiny, they looked great, but the bike, after 6 months of owning it, had weathered a little bit.
Yeah.
So I booked it in with my local motorcycle valeter, Freddy Trott, who is the best valeter there is, by a long shot.
I follow him on YouTube, and I've seen some of his videos, and the amount of detail that he goes into is just unreal. They're really satisfying to watch him like go to work on a bike. So yeah, I'll put a link to his channel in this description, and you can watch him work his magic. But I think I might need to take him up on my bike as well, because it looks incredible.
I'd put a motorcycle cover on this one evening without letting the bike cool down, and along the downpipes it had melted.
I think almost any sort of modern Bonneville owner has had that experience. It's happened like 2 or 3 times to me.
It sucks.
yeah.
But he got them out, and it looks as if it never happened.
Yeah.
So yeah, and he coats everything with I think it's ACF 50, weatherproofs it. He's even gone to the length of waxing the chain.
Yeah.
He hand brushes this protective coating on every nut and bolt. Obviously takes pride in his work, and it shows just looking at the difference of how much this one is shining at the minute.
So you mentioned the shocks. You got those off well, I assume you just ordered them as a Thruxton R part, right?
They were second hand off the
Oh, really?
tonight. I got an absolute steal. I don't know if the bloke had crashed it or if it was from a broker's or breakers, sorry, or something like that. Just saw them on eBay, put in an offer, and the bloke accepted them.
Straight replacement.
Straight replacement. I'd done a little bit of research first. I didn't just wing it, but I thought the bike needs some gold and yellow, and well, what better way to do it than fit ones that were tried and tested off the bike that I'd originally wanted.
Yeah, for sure.
It's changed the ride quite drastically without me even having had them set up yet. They're a lot stiffer,
right,
which takes out that initial dip when you're pulling away, which almost makes it feel like it's got more of a direct drive as you pull away, which is quite mind-boggling that such a small change has made such a big difference. I
actually swapped out, they're very similar on the Street Twin to these, but I just put some cheapish Hagen shocks, and again stiffer, and I think it's probably had a similar effect. It wallows a little bit less at the back end. It feels a little bit, you know, through the bends it doesn't kind of sit into it as much, and it definitely handles much better. I can see where you're coming from with that. What else have we got on here? You said you'd fitted a booster plug as well, right?
I have, yeah, because the air filter, X-pipe and the new silencers release so much more air. Right. It's a little bit sort of laggy low down in the revs. Okay. It chokes when you pull away if it's not warm. And I did a bit of research online, and Tech Bike Parts do with fuel booster plug.
Yeah.
A kit for this bike. I think they do it for most Triumphs, but for this bike it plugs in. It's a plug and play bit of kit. It reads constantly and constantly sort of maps the bike and the fuel injection to put in the right amount of fuel to air mixture, which smoothed out the revs, not just low down where I needed it, but all the way through.
Yeah.
Made a massive difference, and I'd say has fully unleashed the potential of those small mods that I had made initially.
Right.
Definitely worth putting on.
Is there anything? I think that's everything that I can see visibly.
There is also the sump guard.
Oh yeah.
That's something I normally forget because you can't see it. It was only as we were stood over there looking back at the bikes that I remembered it was there. Yeah. Because just having a bit of a discipline of riding dirt bikes when I was younger, my dad riding enduro bikes, it's always been something that I'm aware of. Yeah. That stones and rocks do fly up and they do cause damage. So it was a no-brainer. It caused a bit of hassle when I had to fit the X-pipe because it's another thing that's in the way. Yeah. But definitely worth having, and it does tidy up the front end and means you can't notice that I have changed and fitted the decat so easily. Yeah. Which is something that's probably a blessing in disguise.
Keeps it a little bit cleaner under there as well, I think. I've just spotted as well, you've done a tail tidy.
Ah, yes, I have. I have fitted a direct replacement tail tidy from Tech Bikes again. Okay. Another sort of nut and bolt plug and play kit. Yeah. Really easy. Comes with a lovely little LED light just to match the original number plate light. Yeah. Tidies everything up and stops you having that number plate sitting right out here. Wasn't a massive thing that needed doing, but kind of felt it came with the territory of customising it a little bit.
So is that pretty much everything?
I think it is, to be honest. There's not too much, but enough to make that lovely difference.
Yeah, I mean, it looks definitely elevated above the stock bike by some sort of significant margin. I think that's, like you said, a combination of all little changes have definitely made a big difference. Is there anything you've got planned that you'd like to do?
I think the only thing that's left is on the front end, the suspension. What I've found is since fitting the shocks on the rear, that I do notice the front end, I've got no sort of control over, you know, how it sort of responds or how it performs. Yeah. And when you go into bends and you do use the front brake a little bit, I feel I'm right down, they're really soft. So I've done a bit of research, and to do a full front end conversion is going to be well out of the question, way too much money. And Tech Bike Parts again do a adjustable spring kit that you can retrofit. Right. And I've heard nothing but great things about it, people saying that it's completely transformed the ride again. So there's maybe over the winter, if I get a bit of time, a few spare bits of cash, maybe I'll invest in that. But other than that, I think the small bits that I've done have transformed it into the daily rider that, you know, I was dreaming of.
Awesome. All right, I think that's probably it then for today. I hope that gives everyone at home a bit of an idea of what you can do with this bike. I know there's certainly some Speed Twin owners subscribed to the channel, so hope it's been a bit of inspiration for you. Let me know if you've got any questions in the comments down below and we'll both try and answer them. Also, check out Hawkeye Moto on Instagram. I'll link to that in the description if you want to see some of the other builds. Have you got a build going on for this year's bike, well, next year's bike shed? Or
I've got one that I've built before but not to a very good standard, and I feel like I might rebuild that. It's a small bike, it's a proper shed build style bike. I might put a bit more effort into that. If not, I'll probably find something over the winter and,
well, that's a good reason to get over there and have a look at your Instagram, as well as seeing a few more. I've seen you got some nice pictures of this bike on there as well, so check them out. And as always, if you're new and you want to see more videos like this, hit subscribe and I'll see you next time.